Hello! Welcome to episode 24 of The Anti-Choice Determinist. My name is Chandler Klebs, and this show is about basically that free will is an illusion and how everything has a cause, and also how this factors into life and death issues such as abortion, suicide, war, capital punishment, all of that kind of stuff. Because we talk about, most people talk about things in terms of choice, but they haven't gotten down to what causes them to choose what they do. And what they don't seem to get is that there are causes. And I talk about this in a lot of my videos, but there's another guy who can explain this far better than even I can. And I have his book with me here. His name is George Ortega. And he wrote this book, Exploring the Illusion of Free Will. And I want to read his two-step refutation that he has right at the beginning of this book in the introduction to the 2011 edition. For we who appreciate speedily arriving at the heart of a matter, here's how to disprove any free will argument in 2 easy steps. 1. Ask the free will believer to give an example of a choice they consider to be freely willed. 2. Ask the free will believer to say whether or not that choice was caused. Congratulations, you've just won. If the free will believer says the choice was caused, the ensuing causal regression makes free will impossible. If the free will believer says the choice was uncaused, the choice cannot rationally be attributed to a human will. You can easily apply this two-step refutation to any and all free will arguments. That's the long and short of it. Now for the details. He's right, you know. Because any example of a choice that you consider freely willed, there's a problem, whether it's caused or uncaused. Because if you are caused to eat a certain food because you're hungry, and you choose one food over another because you like the taste of that food better, or because you know that that food is healthier, well, what that means is that prior causes have dictated for you to choose that thing. Because any decision has to be based on some reason, some kind of knowledge of something. Such as the fact that you're hungry. Unless you feel that you're hungry, you're not going to eat, most likely. And so that, I mean, really, seriously, everything is caused. And so that's a big thing. So he covers that and about the infinite causal regression. And here's the deal. For people who don't understand the causal regression, because it's a big deal, I want to read this again. Yes, if the free will believer says a choice was caused, the ensuing causal regression makes free will impossible. Here's what you've got to understand. Everything has a cause, and so even the causes have causes, which have causes, and it always goes back to before you exist, before you were born, before you were conceived, before your parents had sex, before your parents existed, before your grandparents existed. Seriously. And that's the causal regression, basically, that it goes back infinitely. But then people think, well, some things don't have a cause, and some things happen for no reason at all. And I don't believe you, but George Ortega is already one step ahead of you if you think that something's uncaused. Okay, let's see. Okay, if the free will believer says the choice was uncaused, the choice cannot rationally be attributed to a human will. And this is important, because if something has no cause, well then how do you claim responsibility about it? How do you claim moral responsibility? Seriously, whatever happened, if you do something randomly, if you kill somebody for no reason whatsoever, well, how in the world does that, how do you take responsibility for that? And there's always a reason, there's always a cause why somebody does something good or bad. And most of the time, I mean, look, we don't care about why good things happen. We just like the good things that are happening. But when something bad happens, when somebody murders or rapes somebody or steals something or lies or something like that, well, then we want to know the cause. And why do we want to know the cause? Because we want to prevent it. But if you say that there's no cause, well, guess what? That's pretty useless. First of all, everything's got to have a cause. That's the only way I can possibly see it. But if you argue that something has no cause, well, then there's nothing you can do about it. So acausality or randomness is even worse, because sure, it's free from causality if something happens for no cause, but there's nothing you can do about it, and you didn't really do it. Because if it happened for no reason and no cause, well, then you also are not the cause. And remember that who we are is also caused by things outside of our control, like our parents having sex. So that determines what DNA we got. We also didn't choose what we were taught growing up, all the different beliefs that we have now. And so that's a big thing. And so George Ortega's two-step refutation, that basically anything that you think you're choosing of your own free will, well, it's either caused by something outside your control, prior causes, or it's not caused by anything at all, which means you're not the cause of it. So anyway, I hope you get that. And so it's very important that everyone knows this two-step refutation. But what I want to do is I want to read a section from the first part. See, this book is transcripts of George Ortega's show, Exploring the Illusion of Free Will. You can Google that. You can go to his website, causalconsciousness.com, and there's an audio podcast on iTunes. There's videos on YouTube and on archive.org. So the first part of his book, the first transcript is 1, How I Came to See My Causal Will. And what I'm doing is I'm reviewing George's book. And I'm reading the parts that are very relevant that I found in his book and how it helped me understand certain things. Okay, let's see. Yeah, where was I in this book? I was totally somewhere in this book. Yeah, see, here's the deal. If I had a free will, I would totally be in control of what I'm doing, including what place I was in this book. This is really bizarre. Because there was something, yes, here it is. Okay, page 13. Okay. We're hardwired biologically to seek pleasure and avoid pain. That's who we are. That's what we do. Other organisms share this with us. And there are other imperatives. Seeking pleasure and avoiding pain is a hedonic imperative. There's also a moral imperative. We always do what we consider right at the time. In hindsight, it may not always be right, but we are biologically compelled to do what we think is most right and makes the most sense. What we think is the greater of two goods or lesser of two evils. We're always trying to do things as well as possible and to be as good as possible. This is actually related to the hedonic imperative, because when we're good, we create happiness. Think about this. We can't but seek pleasure and avoid pain. When we're in a certain circumstance and we're given a choice between two options, what to eat, what movie to see, what friends to be with, we're always going to choose the one that we believe will bring us the greatest pleasure. But it's not just about us, it's about other people too. So sometimes we seek the greatest good for the greatest number. We can't avoid that. We're programmed to always do what we think is going to bring us happiness. And this is very, very important. If you understand that we seek pleasure and avoid pain, also understood as we seek that which feels good and avoid that which feels bad. That is the standard for good or bad. And here's the deal. If you understand something's good, if it makes you feel good, if it makes you feel good to eat or drink a certain thing, such as, for example, this apple juice. I have apple juice, and I'm going to drink apple juice because apple juice tastes good. Yes, apple juice feels very good. Okay, so that's good. Anyway, and other things feel bad. They're painful. They're just bad. They hurt us. Either they hurt you, like if you're cut or you're hit with a baseball bat or something like that. The pain is bad. We want to avoid pain. When we know something is going to hurt us, we avoid it. That's why we try to run away when there's cars coming after us. You know, I mean, seriously. We want to avoid pain. There's a reason you try to escape from a burning building, because it would hurt you to be burned. Okay, so when you understand that something is bad because it causes pain, well, then everything makes sense. Everything else falls under that. And so the standard of morality, it's not what the laws of your country is that determines morality. It's not the authority that determines morality. I would have to say that it's biological. If something causes pain, it's bad, and we want to avoid it. And this is very important, because this explains everything. It explains why people get away from people who hurt them. It explains why they get away from anything that's going to cause them pain. It explains, and certain things feel good. Certain things, you eat or drink certain things, that feels good. Sometimes it feels good to sleep. Sometimes it feels good to take a warm shower. You know, whatever it may be. And so that's the thing, is that you can see that people do what feels good to them.